You are watching Parish FM.
Hey everyone, just letting you know that you can listen to an extended cut of this episode over on the Joseph's Patreon. We also upload other videos and skits and films and that if you are interested, and it's fairly cheap, so go check it out if you can. Anyway, back to the episode.
You are watching Parish FM.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of my new series, Parish FM. I am joined by my co-host on the Joseph channel, Jabbery.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. So this podcast we've created here, Parish FM, is going to be a series that we're going to be developing over the coming few months, where we have discussions with creatives in both the art and music industry, specifically in mostly the indie world. And of course, signify that today we're joined by a very special guest, one of the cornerstones of the homemade trading card game community, Wrath of Course.
Hello, how you doing?
It's lovely to have you on, Chris.
Cheers. No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on.
Fantastic. So if you would you like to tell our audience what you do and what you are promoting?
So yeah, basically, it's as with every homemade trading card game, Wrath of Course was basically created as a hobby, something to do in a bit of spare time, and it's just kind of like every other game. It's just kind of grown from that, and I think I've been in the community for quite a while now, so I've got around to creating the second game. I think some of the other OGs are also in the works of creating their second games as well. So, like I know, Chaos Galaxy is making his next game. Mine's already basically published on the Game Crafter. So, it's when you get into your second game, it's it's everything from your original concept of what you kind of stand for in the as a creator, but only better because you've learned from all your mistakes in the past. So I think whenever anybody makes a second game, it's definitely a step forward for everybody. But all in all, the game has basically grown from a hobby onto something which I never actually thought would have, got as big as what my channel currently is on YouTube and the fan base behind me. So that's basically it really. But I appreciate everybody who follows me and everybody plays the game. It's just something you don't really expect. But
Yeah, 100%. I think Wrath of Course, of all the HTCG games out there, it's got a very active fan base, and I love as a creator, you've kind of stayed true to the original idea. When you released Wrath of Course 2, which, to my understanding, is like a more revamped version of the original game. That's
Yeah, so it sticks with the traditional, pencil and pen, coloured pencil artwork with the digital borders around it. But the second game is it's simplified a lot of things from the original game. So especially with HTCG games, I kind of think that they are try and keep things as simple as possible is probably the best thing to keep your audience enthralled.
100%. Yeah, I'm just holding a few cards right now. I actually recently bought a few of your latest. So sorry, just so we have this correct. So every so often you're doing so I'm pretty sure, to my knowledge, the most recent set you do it in kind of like 2.4, 2.5 kind of releases. So it kind of keeps a flow of new cards and new mechanics coming to the game, and kind of keeps this almost, how do you call it, environment in the game growing. When was the last deck you put out was the samurai deck? Am I correct there?
The Pirates. The Pirates
Pirates.
is the latest one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. That's you kind of take, every so often you add more cards, and just the whole set keeps growing. It's like a never-ending, adventure
Yeah,
of
yeah.
just like
Yeah,
mechanics and
so with
else.
so if you look on, if you've got a card to hand now, if you look on the left-hand side of the card with some vertical text, it's got Ravka's 2 point whatever, and obviously after the decimalization, that basically tells you what set that card is from. So you've got 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and I'm currently working on 2.5 now. It's a little bit like an LCG in a way, where once the next 50 cards have done, which would be a major archetype, it kind of just drops into the
Yeah,
game. So like the latest one is the 2.5 is the Pirates, which is one that's not recently has recently been released. However, 2.6 will be the majors.
gotcha.
And then after 2.6, there's going to be something coming from the game, which I don't think I've seen much in the HTCG community. It's something a bit different for the game, because every color in the game would have had an official archetype after the mages, after the blue, after the green color has been finished with.
Yeah,
So that's like a cycle then, because every color has had a release. So after the first cycle, instead of going into like the second cycle, which would bring forth another archetype or another 50 cards for every color, I want to do something quite unique before the second cycle kicks off. So I don't want to give away too much information yet,
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
still heavily under wraps.
Gotcha,
But
gotcha.
yeah, there's something quite in the back of my head currently.
Cool.
What I've really got lined up for after the first cycle's completes.
Just
Fantastic.
question as well, just before we move on to the list of questions we had planned out. I'm just curious, do you kind of have a schedule for when you're put out each what would you call them, subsets kind of a thing?
Yeah, like a subset. You could call it that. Yeah. So I don't really have a time that I aim for, but obviously when one set has been uploaded onto the Game Crafter before it's officially released for people to buy, it's kind of that moment when I've purchased the game off the Game Crafter. It's printing the cards, and then obviously are waiting for the shipment to arrive into the UK. I try to do as many designs as I can then for the following set in that time, because it'll save me so many weeks worth of
Yeah,
drawing and stuff. So basically, since whilst the Pirates were, before they were delivered to me, I was actually working on the mages, which is the next upcoming archetype, and I've nearly got all 50 pieces of artwork for the mages.
cool.
Which I can't wait to start
Fantastic.
working on them. But it's a bit tricky because I only have a couple of hours a week to work on artwork and designing cards and stuff nowadays. I don't get as much time on the game as what I used to when I first started on Ravka's 1. So it's basically from my own personal feelings, it's just as and when the game's ready to release its next set, really.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah.
Fair enough. Ah, that's something else. God, that's the word. Sure. Look at with that, would it be all right if we move on to some questions that we have for you here tonight, Chris?
Yeah, of course you can.
That's perfect. To start us off, this for me personally, I've always interested in seeing where series start from. So I just wanted to ask you, what was the original inspiration for Wrath of Course?
So from the day I decided to create a YouTube channel, back in the Wrath of Course 1 days, I think we're going back to 2016. I think we're going back to. Me and relative and a friend, we used to play a lot of MTG. You know, we used to go to a lot of tournaments and stuff, and even though we kind of won a couple of prizes here and there, we kind of got a bit bored with like how the meta was, you know, in competitive play.
Yeah.
You know, tournaments and stuff like that. We kind of got a bit bored with playing against the same type of decks or, you know, the same type of opponents. It was very samey. Then there was a lot of things with the cards, which I thought to myself, you know, why doesn't it get done this way, or why doesn't it get done that way? And it's just eventually then it's just kind of like, you know, bird off from that. And I suppose in an essence, without sounding too big-headed, it was, I want to make a game what I think's better than MTG, which you know is obviously never going to get as popular as that. But it's, I think, in terms of how simple the game is and easy the game is to play, I think I've kind of, especially with the second game, I think I've kind of succeeded in that. And it's attracting players like Epic Underworlds. He's really into the game. The second game, you know, he's forever buying backpacks off a Game Crafter, and you know, we've played so many games on Untap and stuff like that. Back when Rafa Course 1 was out, PDF TCG, he used to buy a lot of packs of the games, and they know the cards inside out. You know, you don't have to tell them what a card does. It's just as soon as you play it on Untap, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. And you know, once you've got that fan base of people behind you, and they want to play your game, whether it's for a prize or not, it's, you know, it's really something to think about. So yeah, to cut a long story short, it was basically me thinking that I could better MTG in a different kind of way. And it's taken me 2 games to try and work it out in my own kind of way. So
Yeah, fair enough. But that, I think that's very inspiring that you kind of take the initiative to you know, go out and say, well, I don't like the way this is being done. I'm gonna do it my own way. I think that's at the heart of the HTCG community. That's what's there. You know, it's all about doing things in your own way. You know.
And taking the initiative to like create something completely new out of that, and for it to have blossomed into what it is today is, I don't know, a feat of engineering that I can't possibly imagine. But fair play to you, man.
Cheers.
Jabri, would you like to have a look at the next
question?
Question you want to have a go with it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, how has your creative vision changed over time, Chris?
Are we talking in terms of creativity or like ideology?
I mean, whatever you. Sorry, that's a very open-ended question. I do apologize. I suppose whatever you kind of has it kind of when you started Raft Cores, how has that kind of the vision? You know, has the game changed in the way you wanted, or you know?
Yes. So between the first and the second game, I think it has changed quite a bit, but not an extensive amount. So this still essences from the original first game. What's been brought forward into the second game, it's just been simplified a hell of a lot. And that's what I wanted in the original game, to try and keep things as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So that it's easy to play. In terms of like drawing and stuff, I think over the years the quality of like craftsmanship in the art and that has definitely improved. You know, I've had a lot of help from other people who are a lot better at artwork than I am. You know, a lot of like positive criticism and stuff like that. So in terms of actually putting pen on paper, I think that's grown quite a lot compared to how it was when the original first game was released.
Yeah.
In terms of ideology, I've kind of kept Ravquest 2 in terms of like archetypes and the way the battles work and stuff. I think they pretty much stayed the same since the game was originally created, but obviously there's just been some minor changes onto how things actually work. So one of the things what changed was in the first game, the attack and HP values of units were in the hundreds.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of thought, well, you know, why do I need to deal with hundreds and thousands and stuff like that when you could just work with ones and twos,
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
digits. And then one of the rules in the second game is that a unit can't really go above 10 attack and 10 HP. So it doesn't it's not just a case of keeping things balanced, but it's just a case of keeping things as simple as possible for the people to understand, regardless of like age or mentality, mental skill levels and stuff like that. So
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah, definitely
there's-
applaud you for accessibility in terms of, I find a lot. I wouldn't be as knowledgeable and in depth into the homemade trading card game community as Jabbery would be, but I find that especially when these games are made more approachable, somebody who, like myself, who would originally not have been as inclined towards it, are able to pick up and get into the whole world and aspects of playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, as a personal preference, I'm not really a fan of card games that have got lines and lines and lines of text on them, and especially for a HTCG that's kind of just getting off. To me, it's a bit off-putting. I can kind of put away from cards with text boxes full of like paragraphs and sentences and stuff. Whereas Ravcores 2 I've tried to dumb it down as much as possible. So whenever this unit attacks, it gains one. Whenever this unit counter attacks, it gains one attack for the turn. Just some simple things like that. And then maybe a couple of the rarer units or the the royalty rares, which are equivalent to like your ultra rares or your legendaries. They might have a bit more text in them to reflect the fact that they're a powerful card. But the vast majority of every other card in the game is pretty basic, to be fair. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, no hate to Yu-Gi-Oh, but
Yeah, I know what
that's
you mean with that.
like there's getting into that game now. Like if you never played it before, it's a nightmare to be honest, and that's that's what you want to try to avoid. You want to have your game to be eternally accessible in a way, because a lot of games start off fairly oh, this is how this works. But as it keeps going, they start adding new mechanics, and suddenly you've got prison monsters, and then suddenly you've got this and that, and you've got just too much, and it just becomes overwhelming to new potential players.
Yeah.
So I kind of take the same approach with the last 10 elementals, and that is we parallel in that regard anyway, definitely for sure. Session, do you want to ask next question?
Yeah, sure. You mentioned earlier this episode about having less hours to work on Wrath of Kors due to multiple factors. Like, how do you find the time to work on the Wrath of Kors with both your own personal and work life being just as important?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm kind of in the position of switching jobs. So the current job what I'm in now is the days what I work slightly offset. So 2 days of a week, I've probably got about 2 hours on each of them days to work on artwork and cards and stuff like that. Whereas my newer job, it's more of a 9 till 5 job, so I'm probably going to struggle to find time in my newer job apart from over on the weekends. So, and then obviously on top of that, I've got a 2-year-old son, to look after. Obviously, that's priority over anything, really.
Of course, yes.
So it's tricky to find time. Sometimes what I'll do is I've got like a little art book where I draw pieces of artwork for upcoming sets. Sometimes I'll take that into my car, so then when I go on my break in work, I'll just sit in my car and just do some like basic sketches and stuff like that. And then whenever I get a bit of time at home, sometime I'll just finish off the sketches in the book, the outlines and the colours and stuff like that. So it's tricky, but everybody's got their own personal lifestyle really. So it's just a matter of finding your own time to do stuff really.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just on that note, I sometimes, sometimes I don't want to work on the card game, and sometimes I'm feeling kind of creatively. Do you ever have creative droughts as an artist? You're like, I'm kind of out of ideas, or does that ever happen to you? You ever come across that?
Yeah, so sometimes I'll probably get like, let's say I'll have an archetype, like the next archetype, for example, is mages. And I know that I need 50 pieces of artwork for before I start like creating cards. Maybe I can get to 45 and start creating cards, but at the end of the day, I need 50. I'll get to about 30 or 35, and then I'll start stumping for ideas. And it sounds mad because you'll force yourself to do, you'll force yourself, or you'll find other ways to get artwork, and then once you release that set, like all these extra ideas come through to you.
Yeah.
Like for example, I've released the pirate archetype now. I was only thinking the other day, and the pirate archetype's been out for a couple of weeks now, and then out of nowhere, I got like 5 ideas in my head. I don't know what made me think of them, but 5 artwork designs ideas, and I thought, well, I can't really do that now because the set's bloody been released. So, so the only way around that is to do like a filler set, which was in 2.4. I've done 1 filler set since the game's been out, and that basically spurs in all the artwork ideas and stuff what I've had from different archetypes. Basically, just gets bunged into a filler set, and then that becomes a set in its own once we've got 50 pieces of artwork in the filler. So the only way I found of getting around the drought is one way is to collaborate with other creators. So obviously that will give a bit of reflection on other card game creators who you're collaborating with. So what I've started doing is picking 1 or 2 other TCG creators, and then we all create 5 pieces of artwork each, and then however that pool of artwork is, we kind of all share that pool. So in the next set, the merge set, I've got artwork from Epic Underworlds and Skyscape TCG. So the plan was to create 5 pieces of artwork each, so we had 15 pieces of artwork, and then I can use them 15 pieces of artwork in my game, Skyscape can use all 15 pieces in his game, and Epic Underworlds can use 15 pieces of artwork in his game. And then all of a sudden that's like more than 10% of the set already complete when you've only drawn 5 pieces of artwork. So collaborational efforts is definitely something that not only helps you create, help you get your set complete, but it gives a bit of notice to other TCG creators as well. Or if you're obviously a channel, it kind of gives your channel a bit of noticeability for collaborating with a bigger TCG. The other way around it is because I've got about 600 pieces of artwork from Wrath of Course 1. All my future sets now will be bringing 5 pieces of artwork from Wrath of Course 1 into each and every set, which inevitably basically means I only need to create 45 pieces of artwork instead of 50 every time around. So I kind of just look at some of my older artwork and think, that wasn't actually too bad, and it fits the theme of the new archetype what I'm working on. So I'll just take 5 pieces of artwork from Wrath of Course 1, and then that way it's not just sat there collecting dust. It's actually been put to good use. So
yeah, 100%. And when we did. It was us, myself, yourself, and Kingdoms. We took the idea on board, and I must say, it's a really cool idea. Just seeing all the art pieces of artwork like spread across the 3 different games, because we all kind of interpret each other's artworks in different ways, and we use this to our game's advantage. Because very contrasting themes and artworks. So I just thought it was a very fun kind of collection we had at the end of it, and I'm glad to see that you're continuing that kind of new way of collaborating.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of time when a HTCG collaborates, they kind of just take the artwork off another creator and just add it to the game. Sometimes they don't return the artwork, like return their artwork for artwork for an artwork kind of thing. They just kind of add it to their game. Whereas I think this way around, what we've got going, where you all create 5 pieces each, and then you all help yourself to that pool of artwork, I think is something quite unique to what the community needs, really. So, I'm kind of always open to other TCG creators, willing to collaborate in future sets and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was going to say, because this is recent with some of your more recent videos, you started working with um, resources outside the Game Crafter, making stuff by hand.
Yeah.
Do you want to just go into that? I'm just curious what's going on there.
So yeah, I can't remember what the ultimate push was, really. I think it was just the delays with the Game Crafter. Like, obviously, as you and I are probably aware, when we order something off the Game Crafter, not only do we have to wait for the production side of it to be done, but then we need to wait for the dispatch and the shipping time, which can take an extra 2 weeks.
And then there's customs and everything. It's awful.
Yeah. So
that's one thing I'd be interested in just terms of like both, like yourself being based in the UK and Jabri being based in Ireland. Like, how does having your major distributor coming from the US, how does that affect in terms of, you have to price it at some point and having to bring that up in regards to just so you can get the games from the States over to here?
Yeah, so in terms of from an end user perspective, it's relatively simple for us. We just pay for the cards and then just put our address in. It's just as much as anyone from the US ordering theirs, really. Fortunately, touch wood, mine haven't been touched by customs recently.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know if customs is any different to getting into Ireland than what it is into, England.
Yeah.
So have you had problems with customs on your side?
100%. Every time. It depends on the weight, basically. So if I get a big order of stuff, not only, let's say I'm ordering, I like to kind of get like maybe every 2 months I get like a huge box of my latest stuff. And then maybe, some other HTCGs, like a big box of stuff. And the more weight I put in the box, basically, the higher the amounts I have to pay in customs then. So that could be up to maybe like 30 quids every time, extra 30 quids that I'm not accounting for, I have to pay.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have been stung by customs many a times for different hobbies in the past. So when I've had to order stuff in from China and that, and once Parcel Force take control of a parcel, you're kind of goose because you've got no other option but to pay to pay the fine. No, it's not a fine, but a fee. And that's probably another thing. What, like you said, if you order a lot of stuff, the higher the value is, the bigger the box is, then the more chances of you getting caught by customs. Whereas whenever I buy like 10 or 20 booster packs, they all fit in a box no bigger than about 30 centimeters by about 10 centimeters deep. So if you were buying in bulk, then I probably would get stung by customs. But yeah, that's another thing, really. What kind of draws you away from having to purchase these cards from over international waters, and that's probably another reason why I've decided to go, at least try to do the handcrafted approach. And it's always a good topic on YouTube as well for not necessarily just to try and get some views on a channel's own videos, but there always seems to be a lot of people willing to watch videos, wanting to know different ways people are making the cards, and different ways to create the booster packs and stuff like that for the cards. So it's a good thing to try and work out. And then the technique I've got at the moment, these cards are actually coming out pretty well. I've given 2 packs away already to some close HTCG creators, one of which is in the UK and one of which is in America. And the guy in the UK has obviously received and opened his today. So he's kind of complimented on how good the cards actually feel. So keep an eye out for that video, because that will probably be one of the first videos in the community, which is not me opening up an actual pack of homemade handcrafted cards.
Will do.
But yeah, it's quite a unique thing, really, because it's actually quicker than ordering from the Game Crafter.
Yeah.
Once you've got the initial expenses out, and you don't need to spend a fortune on the equipment either. So I am planning on creating a new video soon, which will show people my actual process of how I'm creating these cards and what printers I'm using and what card stock I'm using and stuff like that. So I kind of want that to be like the ultimate video to create, the go-to kind of process for people to create cards at home, because I've actually kind of got high hopes for the way these cards are coming out. So it'd be interesting to see how far it actually goes until I encounter some kind of serious problem with them. So,
Yeah. No, I saw the video. Not your most recent, but one of the recent ones. I saw the quality looked brilliant. The packaging looked great. And I suppose the thing about it is that Game Crafter, there is a reason that loads of people are drawn to it, because the quality is brilliant, but it is expensive. That's the drawback to it, is that
that's another thing, really, because to add the actual booster packaging on the Game Crafter, I think you end up having to pay about, what is it, £2, £3, something like that, just to have the foil packaging added onto the product.
Yeah, it's
and the way I've found out, which I'm kind of hoping is going to be the way forward for us HTCG creators, is you can buy 100 of these foil material things, what I'm using for the Game Crafter, for like £9 something. So it works out at like, what, 9p per booster pack or something like that.
really
Yeah, and then the only other thing as well is, I've recently purchased a laserjet printer, and obviously you can't print on the foil, so the way around it is to print on like adhesive, transparent paper. Now, an inkjet printer is probably fine with that kind of stuff, but a laserjet really doesn't like printing on anything that's not paper.
Yeah.
So I've had to outsource from a sticker company who will print off, like, let's say 150 stickers, what basically I would just peel off and stick onto the foil, and then create the foil packs myself. And then a roll of them stickers probably works out about £10 as well. So it's already, if you work out that, if you manage to make 100 of these booster packs on a scale perspective, it works out quite a lot cheaper than the Game Crafter.
Yeah,
I can just
imagine.
whether people are willing to play with handcrafted cards. So, but
would you say the cards themselves would rival that of the Game Crafter quality?
So, handcrafted cards will never, ever, I've come to that conclusion now, they'll never come to that quality without industrial grade machinery.
Yeah.
Cutters. You're never going to get it perfect. It's just more so about knowing the thickness of the cards and how you print onto the card and the texture of the card. And then once you've kind of found your perfect recipe, if you like, then you kind of just want to stick with that. The cards I've made, obviously they're not like professional grade. There's no core in the middle of them, like how you get black core cards and stuff like that. But because they're printed on a laserjet printer on thick paper, the texture of them is really, I think, is really impressive.
Yeah.
So and they don't seem to be curling. The cards don't seem to be curling. They don't stick together. Like sometimes when you use glossy paper, they actually stick together, so you can't shuffle them. They appear to shuffle really nicely in your hands. So I do have high hopes. Obviously, it's not professional grade, but until people can actually start watching videos of people opening the packs from the creators who have received these packs, hopefully I can start giving some away in the future for other people to get their hands on and kind of, until you actually have them in your hands and you've got your own opinion on them. I can't really say too much for myself. It's basically what everybody else thinks. So, so Scott will be opening a pack very soon. There'll be a video uploaded on that soon, and Epic should have the other pack within the next couple of days. So just keep an eye out for them videos.
Scott is Illuminate Souls?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
cool.
So I can only really await their videos and see what they personally think of the quality of cards. But from what I've gathered, the thickness of a card is 320 GM thickness. So a typical trading card is anywhere between 320 and 350. So,
gotcha.
I think they're looking all right for now. But like I said before, unless some major problem crops up with the cards, then I'm gonna create as many as I can whenever I can.
Gotcha. Zashi, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, sure. So, next question there is so as we all know, Wrathagore is filled with in-depth lore covering the whole series of the cards. Would you ever consider down the road branch out into creating movie or narrative style projects containing the same elements from the HTCG?
For the second game, I don't think I've got the time to do it in a nutshell. The first game actually has a downloadable file, which has got a bit of a story fleshed out to it in a PDF file. So, or a Word document file, should I say? And that basically runs through a lot of lore for the first game. And then a lot of the characters from Wrathagore 1 has actually been brought forward into Wrathagore 2, as well as the addition of new characters. So, besides that document of the story, what was created for Wrathagore 1 many years ago, that's probably as far as it's going to go in terms of like narratives and I don't really have much hope for the game becoming a movie or an anime or something like that. But that's the document storytelling. The first game is pretty much, I think, is as far as the game's going to go, especially with these different things I've got going on for the game. Pack openings and set releases and the collaborative map, world map, what I've got going and stuff like that. It's just, I won't physically have the time to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Fair enough. We can still hope.
Yeah, man. Ryan Gosling as King Rhaenys, hopefully one day.
I mean, if you go onto the actual website, the Wrathagore website, you can download the story for the first game. It's still on there. I don't think I've got any intentions of removing the file. So if you ever wanted to read the backstory of the original game, which has kind of fleshed out the second game, then by all means, it's on there somewhere.
Cool.
Make sure to take a look.
So, we're on our last few questions.
Mhm.
What do you think is the most rewarding aspect about making a TCG?
I think it is the number of people who tune in to watch and the friends you make in the community. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than people wanting to play your game or people who appreciate the effort you've put into your card game. And I think that's wholly it, pretty much. People wanting to play your game is something which you've kind of never really thought would happen. So that's probably got to be the most rewarding feature or features of creating your own TCG.
Yeah, it is like I have a little bit of experience. It is very fulfilling, that when people start asking questions, like especially in person, when you're doing playing against a friend or something, and they're curious about what's this guy doing, how does this mechanic work,
Yeah.
and they really get into it, and it's
Well, yeah, but I've actually suggested to Scott once before because I don't know. We've done. I took him to his first Comic Con last year. He's never been to one before, so I kind of threw him in the deep end and took him to the London, the big one in London, and then since then we've been to the one in Birmingham. But I've actually suggested to him that he comes up one time to where I live, and then we're going to a local game store, Geek Retreat, and just chill out there for a couple of hours playing both our games and live streaming them. But I think he's just a bit anxious about doing something like that. So it was a good idea, but whether it'll come to fruition is one thing or another.
time will tell.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I remember many moons ago, Jabri doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. And speaking of Comic Con and that, would you ever think about just because it's something I've considered, have you ever think about doing like a Ralph Course a stand at one of those events?
So Scott has actually thought about doing that before, and he said obviously if he ever gets it going, which in one of my previous videos. I did a pack opening for a different it's not a TCG, but it's more of a collectible card game than anything. And called the creator was called Doodlebun. And I went to a Comic Con on my own one time, and I encountered this guy, and you can tell straight off the bat that they were homemade cards. Like the booster packs were homemade. You could just tell straight off. So I had a discussion with him, like a 15, 20-minute discussion, introduce myself and stuff. And he said, yeah, he's got a friend who prints them, and then he packs them all himself. And so I asked him how he went about it. Obviously, it's not a cheap thing to do at a Comic Con, because one table probably costs about £150, £200 just to have a small little table.
Yeah.
The only alternative really is to go to like a smaller anime convention or something, but you'd still be paying about £85 for a table. So we have been looking at the price of everything to get done, and Scott's really wanting to do it. Obviously, you've got the legal side of it to deal with as well, which is setting up like a sole trader business, and you need the correct type of insurance and stuff like that. So there's a lot of legal side of getting stuff done. But Scott's always said to me in the past, if he ever gets to a point where he's got a stand in a convention, he said that I'd be more than willing. I'd be more than happy to jump in on his table with my game.
Yeah.
So it could happen. It's probably more than likely going to come from Illuminant Souls more before anyone else, I would imagine, because his artwork is kind of stands out on a whole different level. So his game probably would attract quite a lot of attention. But it's something I've thought about doing. But when you look at the legal side of things, setting yourself up as a sole trader and getting the correct type of liability insurance and stuff like that, it's just something you need to spend more time messing about with.
Definitely.
So, yeah, it's something really interesting. Like, I mean, if Doodlebun can do it, then anyone can do it.
You did a video about an unboxing of their cards, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So I did an unboxing of their cards, and I also I asked him if I could do some like videography of his stall as well. So it kind of shows you like how he's got his stall laid out and what products he had on the table and stuff like that, whereabouts he was positioned, and yeah. So
Cool.
it's an interesting video to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Zashi, you want to ask the the last question? That's a normal question.
Oh yes. So to finish things out, in quotation marks, of course, what do you think, in your opinion, makes the HTCG community so special?
Personally, I think it is everybody's take on their own artwork, because there's so many different types of artwork in the community. Like, obviously, you've got hand-drawn like mine and Kingdoms. You've got people with digital artwork, like the last 10 elements. Who else is there? Chaos Galaxy's kind of gone a bit like digital-esque. Epic Underworlds has gone digital. Skyscape's got that unique art style to it with the thick border. Do you like the thick fine liner around the art edges? Illumiscence is obviously well, you've just got to look at that to see, to see how unique that is. And everybody's got their own take, their own style. Like, what's that one on? What's the one on Instagram? It's quite popular on Instagram. They've recently published their game on Kickstarter. Yeah, Nasty One's card game.
Oh, yeah, I see it here.
It's like that's an oddly unique art style to a game. And they've recently got it on Kickstarter, and they've got all the they're filling boxes up with like booklets and stickers and booster packs and stuff like that. So yeah, to me, it's the artwork behind everyone's game. So more so than like the gameplay and the quality of the videos and stuff like that. So that's definitely a big thing for me.
Fair enough. And I must say, Rascors, Chris, I want to thank you again for being our first guest on Zashin's new show here on Parish FM, because you are, as Zashin said earlier, I'd say out of all the OG HTCG creators, you're kind of like the cornerstone, yourself and Chaos Galaxy, of like the community, and have kind of been there since that one day or 1 year. When was this? 2015, 16?
2016. It was when you were allowed to privately message other YouTube channels via YouTube. And I think me and Chaos Galaxy started at around the same time. But how big Chaos has actually got now is unbelievable. But yeah, we've been around as long as each other. Yeah, we've seen lots of people come, lots of people go. I think the next longest OG is probably I think Skyscape's been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Well, I think Skyscape and Illumison's kind of turned up at the same time. We've seen a lot of very popular channels, like is it Scribbles with Rachel.
Yeah.
she kind of got quite popular and then just fell off the face of the world. Who else was there?
There was
Doodle.
also Soaps was there for a while.
Nope, that was it. Yeah, Soaps was on and off. Cards at Home. Cards at Home was actually before my time, I think.
Oh yeah, right.
But he was quite active for about a year, and after my channel was made, and then he kind of disappeared off the shelf.
Mm.
And then there was a lot of smaller games as well, like Randomopolis and Quest TCG.
Oh yes, yeah.
Ruin, not Ruin spelled RUNE, but the other
Or
Ruin RUIN.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people have come and gone, so it's quite a feat really to say that, you know, I've been there for that long and I'm still here alongside Galaxy. So
no, definitely, and I think and take this as compliments, because I think that Rascore is, when you think kind of you think like the big guys in the HTCG community, even though it is small, you kind of you yourself and Chaos Galaxy are probably the first that come to mind when you think, you know, the icons of the HTCG community. And I think you just told us there that like you're always open to collaboration, and even collaborating with us, but we've like 200 subscribers on YouTube. That's because we're inconsistent, but still, it doesn't matter. I think, um, you know, I admire that as a creator and as an artist. And does you have anything to add to that?
No, like just would say I have the utmost respect for what you do and how you've done so much in the community for the community. Yeah, I know. Like I've seen over the years, like from personal perspective, seen Jabbery evolve his TCG, and I can only say that it really helped having a community around him to be able to work on a project he was so passionate about. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
It only takes one video really, just to help someone else out, and, you know, smaller channel out. So usually whenever somebody opens my pack, if I catch it online, I will almost always share it on my channel. So not only does it kind of give, you know, that impression of my card game getting open, but it also gives the appreciation and the acknowledgement to the other channel, the smaller channel, who has spent the time and money to buy and open a pack of Wrath of Cores online, and it's unfair for them to, you know, spend their time and money and only get 5 views or something like that. So as long as I can share it, even if they only gain 10 subscribers or something like that, it's you know, it's something. But
it helps. Yeah,
but I always appreciate whenever anyone does a pack opening and puts it online. It's always appreciated. I'll always try and comment on people's videos and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So, Sebastian, we have one last question before we do our outro. As you want to ask this very, very.
Of course, one of the biggest questions of this episode. To you, Wrath of Cores, Chris. Our number one question is: do you play Fortnite? And if you say if you do, if there was a possibility to have any of your characters from Wrath of Cores 1 and 2 to be a customizable item in that game, what would it be?
I think I played Fortnite for a couple of weeks about 5 years ago, and I've not really played it again since. I'm kind of, well, I've played a lot of COD in the past and Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy and stuff, but Fortnite's not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I've tried it, I've played it, but it's not really
Gotcha.
my cup of tea, unfortunately.
Sorry, it's just I know it's in the run. We're making that a tradition to ask every guest that who pops on. So,
especially with the general vibe of this podcast, but we're aiming for it to kind of be more in depth. It's just something to kind of
just random
Switch up
asks.
the mood. Quite.
Yeah, yeah. So, before I let before I let you do the proper outro here, I just want to say that thanks so much to Ref Court for hopping on. Obviously, his channel will be linked in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify we can't really do links, unfortunately, but his channel will be linked, and the Game Crafter will also be linked. And thank you very much, Chris. I'll hand you over to Zashin to finish this thing off.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us on. It's a pleasure to be on your first episode as well.
Thank you so much, Chris. So, I just want to extend a massive thank you to both yourself and Jabri for being on the pilot episode of Parish FM. To our audience, I hope you enjoyed the first episode. If you're on YouTube, make sure to give us a like, subscribe if you feel like you enjoy this type of content. On Spotify, I'm not 100% sure how that works. We'll figure that out. But for now, we wish you goodbye. And remember, when you're on this podcast, it's never a sad day in the parish. Thank you very much, everybody.
See you
Thank
later.
you.